It's Jen Suzuki, and I'm in the industry. I meet some of the greatest leaders out there, dealer execs, dealers, GMs, and I'm bringing them in the studio to talk to me about what's making their business pop, what's accelerating their growth. I'm sharing my own personal strategies for your sales teams, so I'm ready to get after it. Are you? Welcome, Brett Sutherlin, fellow Northwood University graduate. He grew up in the car business. His father had dealerships, but after graduating Northwood University, he sold AutoNation. He wasn't sure what he was going to do or where he was going to go, so he started working in various roles for AutoNation, became a GM. He then gets into wholesaling vehicles, becomes the second largest wholesale next to CarMax. And if that wasn't a peak, he gets hit by 9/11. and some would say got the beat down, so now he's forced to learn and grow on his own. And while working as a GM, he built an SEO digital platform that really started off as a website company. And at the time, the biggest and the baddest in the business. Brett and his wife, they exited Fusion Zone for over $100 million, but that's not the end of it. He has exited 3 other digital companies. And for those of you that don't know, of course, he's not a quitter. He is on a roll building a 4th software company as we speak. So today I'm asking Brett to share a little bit about his journey through identifying solutions from adversities that became a launching pad to develop software solutions. Welcome, Brett.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yes, thank you. So maybe you could share a little bit of your background on how you grew up in the car business, maybe some experiences in the industry that have shaped your entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah. So, as you mentioned, grew up in a family that owned dealerships. My father had quite a few dealerships. I went to Northwood University thinking I was going to jump into family business, and then lo and behold, 6 months after I graduate, he sells everything to AutoNation. So then I'm like, now what?
Yeah.
Like you said, I stayed on with Northwood for quite some time. Or no, scratch that. Stayed on with AutoNations for quite some time, and was in different roles. Worked my way up to GM of a large Nissan dealership. Wasn't very content. Always thought there would be more for me. Got involved in creating a wholesale car company, Brett Sutherlin Motors, based out of Atlanta, and we were selling hundreds and hundreds of used cars a week. That led me to find a general manager opportunity in Miami. I jumped on that, and that was running a Honda store. Took that store from bottom part of the leader pack in the country. I think they were ranked 700 out of 800 stores, took them to the top 25 in a year, and did that all digitally. I mean, digital wasn't that big then.
Yeah.
And, one of the first things I saw, the dealership was in North Miami Beach.
Yeah.
And, sitting on the showroom floor, we could put in Honda Accord, Miami or North Miami Beach. We were nowhere to be seen. So instead of trying to recreate the wheel and working with Cobalt, then dealer.com, et cetera, started our own company. Just said, hey, we're going to start completely from scratch, because you could see from an SEO and digital perspective, other website platforms were built much better, and ended up hiring our own programmers and built what we used internally, and that really put us on the map. And when you take a dealership, from last place to one of the top in the nation,
in the country,
you're going to have other dealers that are knocking on your door saying, whatever you
how are you doing this?
I want on board, right? So that really led to our start. My wife worked at the dealership. We met there, and that led to our start creating Fusion Zone. And we tag team that, did that together, and built that company for 9 years, and then, as you said, exited to private equity.
Okay, so I think a lot of us can relate to this time frame, and so you probably don't know this, but I worked for one of the first internet startup companies out of Northwood called Auto by Tel, and so this was lead gen, and I lived in Miami. I worked for Ed Morse Automotive Group. I worked for Alpaca Ford, and anyways, this was such a big era that impacted the car business. I think people didn't know what to do. And what you're talking about is taking a dealership from the bottom to the top strictly through lead gen or being able to expose your inventory and being able to be seen in the search engines. And I think this is such a big moment for us to marinate on for a second because you're talking about digital environment and being able to take a company to a completely new level strictly by showcasing their appearance online. Can you tell me a little bit more? Like, how does that actually work?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, when I dove into the dealership and the current provider,
Mhm.
um, I don't even recall if it was Cobalt or dealer.com, but
Uh-huh.
there was no SEO value whatsoever to what they were doing. It was more or less internet for dummies. If you wanted to make a special out of a Honda Accord, you could drag it here, drop it here, put 199 a month, and but
Mhm.
there was no way a search engine could pick that up. And if
Mm.
you looked at other uh, industries, they were so far ahead of the car business. And
Mm.
you've had to see, I mean,
Mhm.
sometimes, going back to that age, people would think, oh, dealers just aren't going to get this. And it'd be easy to pull the wool over their eyes, right? They're not going to demand something that is more sophisticated, call it.
Mm.
So I knew that it existed. Other businesses had it, were hanging their hats on it. It just yet to hit the car industry. So,
Okay.
that's what we created. I hired programmers that had built the infrastructure for John Deere and Caterpillar and created all the bar scanning equipment for the New York State Public Library. So I hired a very, very sophisticated team to come work for
Mhm.
me and built what we started.
But how do you do, are you seeing other industries, you're meeting other people that you're identifying, look, they got something we don't have, and that is the next level, and then you are networking with people, or how do you find the right developers? How do you even know what to do? And do you
So I
plow through a
was
bunch of
looking
people? You make a lot of mistakes? What's this look like?
in this particular instance. We I just looked at other businesses, how
Mm.
they were performing online, and
Mhm.
then dove in to find out how the site was built, and ultimately
Mhm.
led to see who the programmers was. It was
Mm.
called Fusion Zone because it was built in Cold Fusion, the language, which is almost
Okay.
obsolete now.
Uh-huh.
But that was where the name came from, and
Mhm.
we did a lot of things right from the development perspective. That was one thing that really went our way. I
Mhm.
mean, when you are a dealer and not necessarily just a software provider,
Yeah,
you get instant credibility once it works and works well. And
got it.
to piggyback on the fact that we were able to take the dealership from the bottom 700 to the top 25 in such a short time frame, that
Mhm.
was something to really hang your hat on,
For sure.
and have others, contact you saying, look, I want on board too, explain it to me. And I was not a vendor at the time. I mean, I was a car dealer. I had no idea what to price this at. I had no idea. Looking back, we were charging $6,000 a month for the website. I mean,
Huh.
we had no idea where to even start. And obviously, as we grew and scale, I had a lot of relationships directly in the business. We
Mm.
had a lot of supporters because, as I said, we weren't the typical vendor. And my wife was instrumental in helping us build. She had a Six Sigma background with a
Uh-huh.
MBA from the University of Miami. Um, she was instrumental in helping us set the infrastructure to handle the growth. I think
Mhm.
many companies fail in that area, and that I'm telling that would not have been my forte. I couldn't have done that without her. So,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it was teamwork, and
Mhm.
we were able to. She understood the car business. She understood car lingo. She worked in the business. She was an F&I director at the time,
Okay.
and so she really got it. And the dots kind of connected. And we went when we went to market 9 years ago. We had, geez, 12 companies really trying to buy us, and it was an exciting time.
God, I can't even imagine. I mean, I know, and any of us know, regardless of what role you're in a dealership or just in general, you're constantly fighting obstacles to become a top performer, whether that's the economy, or it's the product unavailability, it's the rates. I mean, we just have one blow after the next, but we always figure it out. And I think that that's really where I can sense it's like you're making this transition. It's working for your business. Now other people are watching what you're doing. They want some action. They want to boost their performance as well. But certainly you're going to go through highs and lows of building a software company. I know that you've got challenges in front of you. Can maybe you share some of these ones that really stand out to you? And I almost sometimes think in my own life, I look back on things that have transpired, and at the moment you're like, damn, this sucks. Like, is this going to work? Did you ever think that, like, oh, this isn't working the way that we want it to work, or we chose the wrong person, or there's something that you're facing during these early stages of Fusion Zone? And I'm wondering how you approach challenges, and how did you find solutions? And then even looking back, did they tell a story? Did it shape your future?
It's people. That's where we ran into the biggest challenges. It's hiring, and it's creating a team that has the same passion that you do. A lot of people are there for a job, and that is very hard for me to relate to. It's very hard for my wife to relate to. And, people is typically your biggest challenge and your biggest problem. As I said, we had very good partners in developing our software. Our software, hands down, I think, was the best in the industry at the time when we sold. But people present the biggest issue. We had 2 offices. We started the business in Florida. We quickly signed up dealers on the West Coast that had a pretty large presence. If you remember Tobin Auto Group with the Chop It whole thing. He's a good friend of mine. We signed up Josh Tobin there. We signed up Cutter in Hawaii. We signed up a lot on the West Coast, and we said, hey, we need a West Coast presence. So we relocated. My wife did her undergrad in San Diego. We said, hey, we're going to go and open an office on the West Coast to complement our office on the East Coast. We didn't have this when we left the East Coast. We didn't have the leadership that when we were there. So that office struggled a little bit by comparison. And then I'll tell you, I mean, finding people that one you can afford in Los Angeles. Our office was right outside of Santa Monica. I mean, it was it was more employee issues than anything that led to us slowing down or dropping the ball. Or I'm sure you can relate there. We had 100+ employees working for us at the time, and it was pretty hard to juggle and find and staff. And as we were growing, we sometimes purposefully slowed growth, because we couldn't keep up.
Maintain the standards you wanted.
Exactly. And that was one thing that my wife brought to the table, is saying, hey, listen, we want to make sure that we offer the best support. And this to this day, those are the vendors. I mean, obviously I run Sutherlin Automotive Group right now, which is a bunch of dealerships across the Southeast. To this day, that's what we look for is in vendors, is support times, how quickly you get back to your customers, et cetera. And that's something from the early days we hung our hat on. And until to this day, I see dealers at conferences. We just recently had all of the conventions in Las Vegas, the shows that I was there, and people recognize me from Fusion Zone, see that I'm in the retail side again. But I mean, they come up to me and say, look, I've never seen performance vendor support like what I had with Fusion Zone. So that's something that really put us on the right track, and is something where we didn't rest on our laurels and say, hey, you know what, we're just going to bring on more people that we can handle. And we didn't do that. So that was fantastic.
And going back to the people, in looking back on maybe some people, even interview process, can you share some techniques that you acquired during this time where you're identifying, okay, look, we brought on the wrong person. Here's what we're looking for now. Oh, here's the type of person that we should be interviewing, or this is how we interview, or how do you find and you never really know until they get in the trenches, but certainly there's some lessons learned along the way. And I think we could all relate to trying to build a championship team. And it's hard to find the right players, but I just had Dave Anderson on my podcast last week, and he says the same thing. You're looking for fighters, people that will fight, weather the storm, people that'll fight and excel, not afraid. They're not going to quit. You never know what people are going to do, but he's showcasing some of these characteristics, and I'd like to get your perspective on that.
So we started down a path that was very different. When we are hiring key people, whether that be salespeople, we don't want churn. I think we had the best, most talented sales team in the business. How did we set it up where we could avoid that churn? We gave them certain goals to hit where they built equity in the company.
Okay.
So we did that from our head of technology. We did that with several different people in sales. And when we exited, they became millionaires. I mean, they have a very, very vested interest at heart, and they want to surround themselves with the best because guess what? When we exit the business, it's just not myself, my wife getting paid. It is a lot of people,
the whole team.
And that made a huge difference. And it's something we do in the car business today. I mean, I have anywhere between 10 and 20% partners in virtually every dealership that I own, and that has served me well. Any new business that I do, I don't care if it's in the car business, outside the car business, I would think along the same way, because if our values and goals align, and it's going to be a lot easier to grow it because we have the same end goal in mind. So go ahead.
No, please.
No, so that is one thing that I think that really changed the quality of the talent that we were able to bring in. Every tech company that I've started, that my wife and I've started, we've bootstrapped. I mean, it's been our money. We haven't ever raised money. We've done it ourselves, and it's something that's worked really, really well for us. And when that person can earn sweat equity, it really sets you apart from a team perspective.
So I often will see this, particularly with the leadership team getting offered these opportunities. And I wonder, because I very rarely, one of the biggest challenges that we run across in the car business is turnover. It's a job. A lot of times people get hired in. It's kind of like, it's a set of circumstances that'll lead. It's survival for a lot of people, and most people are willing to hit the ground and do their thing and make their money. But I don't ever see where people are offered an opportunity to buy into something. What do you think about that as a but we see so much turnover, 80%. I think it's like nearly 80% is a industry benchmark, yet nothing ever gets done about it. A lot of times people come in, they get onboarded, they don't get the tools, the support, they don't get that coach, to lead, to help them overcome obstacles, to learn processes. They just expect results.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking a person, you're dropping them in and saying, "Hey, get to work," and they have absolutely no idea what they're doing. 100%, and that is why giving people the opportunity to, in the retail business, we give them an opportunity to buy in the certain partners, but these have been Sutherlin employees for a long time. We like promoting from within. And as you mentioned, we were at Northwood at the same time. And, the ability to take and create internships and then develop people. A lot of the people that were interns for Sutherlin during the times we were at Northwood together are now managing partners for us. So it's pretty cool. By doing the same thing in technology-based businesses, digital, or whether it be the car business, it's going to give them that something to grasp onto and say, hey, these people are different. My number 2 guy at Sutherlin was a fellow Northwood guy, graduated a couple of years after us, Mike Spinazzi. Sutherlin's the only place he's ever worked. He did an internship, and he's been with us 25 years. So it's something that differentiates you and really, really sets you apart in the business world.
I think that's great. As a leader, you're fostering a culture that encourages adapting, pivoting, always thinking solution oriented, thoughts? How do you face the adversities and how do you work with a team that's facing adversity? And we've had a lot of adversities in the car business. And whether it's Fusion Zone or it's now, running all of these dealerships, what is your look on this and how do you coach your team? Because a lot of times people get crapped out. People want to throw in the towel. They want to get up. It's hard to fight the fight, so how do you foster this kind of a culture with your leaders and with your team?
So we've done things a lot different when you compare us versus a normal dealership group. As I said, we do have a training program. We cultivate people.
Okay.
We've had a management training program since I attended Northwood.
Mm.
I recruited heavy from Northwood once I
Mhm.
graduated, and I'm still involved with Northwood,
Mhm.
to cultivate the right people. I think it makes such a difference in the
Mhm.
person that you're going after. Northwood's a prime example. If you
Yeah.
take someone that is at Northwood, these are people wanting to be in the car business. You've
Mhm.
seen a lot of managers say, "Oh, you go and hire a great salesperson. They can work at AT&T, Verizon, or Applebee's. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter," and you give
Mhm.
them a chance. Those will work out. But when you're hiring someone who understands the money that can be made in the car business, the hours and so forth that it does take to be successful,
Mhm.
and you take someone who is bred for this and put them in, and you
Mm.
have the right training program and you have the right recipe for success, and you've got proven leaders in your organization who have done it, so it's not all talk. It makes a big difference, right? And I
Mhm.
think you are in the sales training category. You see this firsthand day in and day out. It
Mhm.
is the missing component in 90% of businesses. It's
Agreed.
probably 99% of businesses.
Yeah.
And the same is true in the technology space.
Mm.
Where do you really go to find that person that has a talent and a passion for it?
Mhm.
I went to the same place. I went and pulled people from the car business and taught them technology because they
Mm.
understand the hours, they have the grit, they have the will to succeed, and I taught them the technology. I found it harder to take a technology person and
Mm.
teach them the car industry than it's made more sense for me to take a car person and then teach them the technology business. It made a big difference in how we did business.
I totally love this in so many ways. Yeah, the DNA, the pedigree, that you've identified. You could teach anybody anything, right? But if you don't have the
100%.
values and the fundamentals and they don't align with you, that could be the missing link.
Oh, as a company that served dealers, we worked dealers' schedules, right? We
Mhm.
ensured that we had two offices, but we ensured that we had coverage from 9 to 9. I mean, that
Mhm.
is when dealerships are open and are in business. We
Mhm.
had people on Saturdays. It made us very different. Try and get a graphic made from dealer.com on a Saturday morning because you don't have specials on a website. We
Mhm.
thought like car dealers, not like technology people. You go hire your typical technology person, and they're wanting unlimited paid time off. They're wanting all of these things. It's a
Mhm.
very different business, and being able to do it in reverse
Mm.
really was a benefit to us. And guess what? The dealers felt more comfortable when they were chatting with
Talking to
our
car people.
agents because they're car people.
Yeah, it's easier
Exactly
to
right.
build relationships. Yeah, you understand, you can respect people's time, schedule, energy. Yeah.
And I did something else. Once we sold Fusion Zone, I
Yeah.
started another company called Lead Revenue.
Okay.
Exact same model as Fusion Zone. We exact same technology model as Fusion Zone, but
Okay.
we were serving contractors because people building houses, laying asphalt, things I had absolutely no knowledge of.
Uh-huh.
But guess what? The people that we hired to work for us were the people that were on the front line of that industry. We taught them technology. We did the same thing again. We signed 1,000 contractors in 15 months and sold that to
Mm.
private equity as well. Because what took us 9 years to do at Fusion Zone, we shortened that window because we had the playbook. And it really didn't matter. Hey, you're a car person. Great. Now I'm a asphalt person, right? It's six one, half a dozen another. It's learning the industry, having influencers, getting involved in influencers in the industry that you're
Okay.
going after, and having them help put you on the map.
Mm-hmm. So you've taken, I'm guessing, the same exact business model to the third and now the fourth.
Well, now well, no, the first one was a company called certifiedcars.com, where we actually
Oh, oh,
own
oh.
the name Certified Cars. So it was in the auto industry. We
Okay.
exited that right before Fusion Zone. Lead
Okay.
revenue was outside of the auto industry. I don't currently have a non-compete in auto. So we've
Uh-huh.
been working for the last several years at Sutherlin Auto Group, building our own technology. If you sniff around our website, you'll find some things that don't have any vendor name on it. We've been building a lot of technology in-house. We think we've got some software that's going to really give dealers an edge. And that's one way we've brought an advantage inside. I mean, if you look at our net sales numbers, compared to other dealers in the market, the average is 3 to 4%. I've got stores at 18%. So
Mm.
it's big stuff.
So would you say that taking some of the learning experiences for lead gen, promoting your inventory, these technologies, that you are still in that mindset for your own brick and mortar stores, that digital plays a significant part in generating sales?
90+%. Absolutely.
What changes for you now? Like, how do you go? How does that impact your look? There's a lot of people out here running stores that the desk managers don't log into the CRM, Brett. They don't
Oh,
log into the
sure.
CRM. They don't understand how to nurture people. Of course, that's my passion. But knowing what you found out and how you've been able to accelerate your business, even top performers out there, not always are dialed into the space, or they're using an agency to take care of everything. Do you have some advice and recommendations on building your business from this perspective? And it may even be a perspective that you are unaware of, or that's not your thing. You want it to be your thing. You got to figure out how to make it your thing. Can you maybe give me some advice on that?
I think it goes just you hit the nail on the head. It's training people to use the CRM. I mean, we hold our managers so accountable. We have a general manager meeting weekly in which I'm expecting to see general managers display how many phone calls each one of their sales managers is making, how many appointments have been confirmed. There's no reason in the world you shouldn't have, 95% of all your appointments confirmed ahead of a weekend, right? It's still the basics of holding people accountable. And if they know that you're holding them accountable, they're going to perform. Let's go back a step. They're going to hold their managers accountable. My general managers will hold their managers accountable, because guess what? They bought into the stores. They have skin in the game. It's a big difference than your AutoNations of the world that don't have that same advantage of having skin in the game. If we go into a dealership, the first thing that I look at when I'm buying a store is, who do I have to run the store? If I don't have someone to run the store and it can be the best opportunity in the world, I'm not going to buy it, right? That's the same with any company. You've got to have that leader that's going to hold other people accountable, and it all starts with training. If they are missing the boat there, then it's really it's never going to work. You've got to hold people accountable. They have to do the basics, or you're going to get left behind. It doesn't matter how good the lead gen software is that my team creates and that we put in place if they are not doing the basics.
If they don't have a process, if you're not
100%
nurturing it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So you get these pieces in place. What would you say that that's a distinguishing factor in your company? If outside of the people, I got the message loud and clear, and I love reinforcing that. I believe in people. I believe we got to keep nurturing people, helping build their skill sets. There's a lot of blows people take in the car business, a lot of no's. It's definitely not for the faint of heart, but you need a coach, someone that's always going to help you get from being spun out all day, jeopardizing your efficiency and your capabilities and your true income potential. Outside of building that team of people digitally, are there tools that become such a focal point for you that you can tie back and say, all right, look, I want to keep I'm got my eye out for certain things. Like a lot of times people right now, for me, when they ask me about advice, I say, I like to plug in AI. I think AI has it's consistent. Sometimes with people, if you don't have that piece to the puzzle, you're trying to, you want your phone's answered quickly. Okay, we got a solution for that. There's a lot of technology out there that can solve a lot of problems. How much emphasis do you place on looking for new tech, injecting it into your business model, and can what ties back to, wow, you know what, we couldn't have gone there we couldn't have got to these heights without it.
100%. We have our own proprietary software in our service drive where we literally are appraising every car that comes into service. We have a proprietary software and we have a process put in place. We have a dealer dashboard where I can see, and we incentivize our service riders for ensuring that the customer gets the offer on the car 100% of the time.
Okay.
We can see and track how each service advisor is doing in that process and how many cars we are buying or either trading for. And we have benchmarks that we measure. I mean, those are some things that other dealers probably aren't doing at all.
People got a little toe in it. That's it.
Right. And we are our average dealership, and we have some bigger stores. We have one of the top Nissan stores in the nation. We have a big Toyota store, big Lexus store. We are buying 50, 60, 70 cars a month per dealership. I mean, it's not even
off the drive, you're saying.
Off the service drive. And when I say buy, that includes people trading out as well. But I mean, those are some things that we have software for that we measure to the fullest. And that's just one example. We have many examples like that. Where we're missing the boat, and I think 90% of the people are missing the boat, is having that one dealership trainer to partner with that are holding our teams accountable. And I think I know our turnover is less than the industry standard because our stores perform very high and there's ample opportunity. But again, it's holding each salesperson, each service writer, everyone in the dealership to higher standards by ensuring that they're training. And I think that's a weakness of ours. That's definitely a weakness of most in the industry. And, I'd love to solve that.
Yeah. Well, I obviously I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's been the business I've been in for 2 decades. Because a lot of times people they need the tools. And some people, once you show them the tools, they're never the same person. They know how to get there. And this is why I always focus on leadership too. It's like we need coaches. And so I think if you can bring those two together, this is a winning formula. And you're going to have to change the plays. You got to change the plays all the time. You know what? For me, I build curriculum literally every week, Brett, because the plays keep changing, and if you can't, you'll see the changes because the customers, they change, the things that are important to them, and that you have different objections that become more frequent. But if you don't change the plays and the process, you're going to keep doing the same stuff that doesn't work, and you're going to drive business away. And you dial in every day. So I agree with everything that you're saying. It's just been an epidemic out there. I don't want to forget something you said. So I love the service drive. I think this is how we get loyalty and the absolute best way. You're looking out for customers. You can do them a solid. There's programs that change with the manufacturers on a reg. And if we are finding areas of opportunity to really benefit our customers, not just buy cars, but to get them into, a more comfortable situation or something that they like. Sometimes people don't even like their car and they didn't even know we could get out of it. And maybe we have a program car that's going to help us get there faster. I mean, if you've got a team of people dialed into how we can best serve our customers on the drive, and every customer gets an appraisal, that is, I think, the start of it. But one thing you said is we incentivize the advisors to get the appraisal. Can you just expand on that a little bit more? Because I oftentimes find there's a conflict between the service and sales department in many fronts. And this one in particular, service advisor is not looking out for the salesperson. I always say, make friend, that's your best salespeople. That's your best, get a best friend back there, but people come into the service department. It's not like they're happy to be there. You know what I mean? Like they know they're going to spend money and it's going to cost time. And and then what's one more thing, so does the advisor really want to make sure you get yours? How do you make this relationship work?
So yeah, the answer is you have to incentivize the advisor 100%. I was at our
It's for a
Subaru.
write-up or it's for the deal?
It's for every vehicle that we buy
Acquire.
or every vehicle that we trade the customer out of. We
Okay.
incentivize them. I was at our Subaru dealership in Knoxville recently. Our top service advisor made $3,600 just from this program last month.
Okay, I like
So
to hear
you
that.
can be rest assured that that guy is putting the appraisals in 100%
Every
of the
car.
vehicle, every car.
Okay.
And that is the case pretty much across the board at all of our dealerships. We make sure that the sales team and the service team are working together. You have to create harmony there because just like you said, there's no better place to start a deal than the service drive.
Agreed. Yeah, but that has been a lifetime problem in most dealerships, Brett, bridging the gap between the two departments. That there's always seems to be a conflict. How do you create the harmony?
Yes, absolutely.
Are you doing meetings together?
Absolutely. Of course we are 100%. Our service advisors are in our sales meetings. I mean, we have the same vision and the same goal. So as we grow, as we sell cars, as we service cars, they both win because obviously the more cars we sell, the more cars we service, and the more cars we trade customers out of. And if they're not working in harmony, you've got a big mess on your hands. And everyone hears that I should be buying cars out of service. Their number one problem is sales and service hate each other.
Right.
No doubt. And if you can solve that issue, you can do a lot more business in both departments.
Okay, so you're bringing them together on a reg. They are having meetings together. We have a common end goal, and everyone's getting incentivized to have that relationship. How do you nurture this? Because it's one thing to put it together, but you have turnover and you have, there's 1,000 initiatives going on. Who's in charge of this? Like, how do you ensure that stays intact?
Our annual turnover is far less than the industry average. If we hire 10 salespeople, we have 2 turnover in a 12-month period.
Okay.
It's very, very different. Minimal. And if you're a dealership that literally is offering no training, offering no tools, offering no software, it is going to be a recipe for disaster because your turnover is going to be 80% annualized and it's never going to work. If you have low turnover, relatively speaking, and most people have a lower turnover in service than they do in sales, and you bring them into the same meetings, you have the same goals, you have the same incentives. If you're shooting to sell, 300 new cars this month, your service team needs to win just as much as your sales team, because I guarantee you 70 of them are from service. So, and I think that, just like I said earlier, that is the missing ingredient.
Okay. Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I see it all the time and I'm always trying to bridge the gap, but I know it requires consistency.
And I think it has to start at the top, right? It has to start with the dealer principal and then make its way down. I'm probably a very different dealer principal as I have a very different background. So I'm open to trying and exploring new things. And I think you have to have an open mind going into it.
Yeah. Okay. Is there certain software? Is there certain things in the dealership you'd be willing to share that you could pinpoint and say, this has helped us maintain our edge?
Absolutely.
Maybe it's even a personal thing.
I think it's, I could show you report after report that we're focusing and looking at and on a weekly basis that we know if these things are hitting on all cylinders, by looking at weeks and weeks worth of data, we can tell you going into this weekend, we have 71 appointments at this dealership. The managers have confirmed 91%. I can tell you within, 2 or 3 of how many we're going to sell. at that dealership. So yeah, I think it's all data driven, and
Yeah.
it's at least for me, that is the secret sauce.
Okay.
It's following data, following reports, ensuring everyone's using the CRM, ensuring everyone is using the software to its fullest. And if that is happening, and the reports indicate that it's happening, you can hold your team accountable, and you can pretty much guarantee your results.
Well, I find it fascinating that you've got all these arms, you've got a lot of skill sets, you've got hands in a lot of things, and I think it's just really impressive to hear your journey, follow your journey, especially being a fellow Northwood alumni. I really appreciate you investing the time and sharing some of your secret sauces with us today. There are many reminders. It's just a matter of taking action, and even sometimes stepping back in your business and saying, we don't have to do it the same way. We don't have to do it the same way as everybody else. We
100.
don't have to hire the same way. We don't have to look for this type of person anymore. We can change, we could evolve, we could pivot. And maybe looking back on your journey, there's something that maybe you wish you would have known, or something that maybe you'd have done differently. And you gain some valuable insights on some experiences that, really contributed to your success. Can you close up with something like that for us?
In the technology world, in the digital space, we're pretty methodical in our growth. We didn't attend NADA. We didn't attend Digital Dealer. Fusion Zone to many was largely unknown. But to have 1,000, 1,500 clients when you go to exit a business, it's a very lucrative play. I think that was smart in doing it that way, under the radar, because people don't know that you're out there and you are aggressively taking from their business. You're not on the map, so to speak. I think that served us well. On one hand, it didn't serve us as well when companies were selected for different OEM mandates, like, for the world of Shift Digital, because, where we were able to grow under the radar and be very, very profitable, have low turnover. I think we had the lowest churn in the industry. We weren't able to participate in a lot of the programs further on in our life because we were largely unknown. So, there's give and takes both ways, right? You can't have it all. I think many people lose sight of building a company because they think they have to raise money. I think probably the biggest thing we did was bootstrap it. And it allowed you to grow at a pace you could control. And I think there's a lot to be said there. I mean, it's easy to go probably raise $1 million and then to blow that $1 million and you've got nothing left. And then now what, right?
Yep.
If you're more methodical, and in your business plan, have different steps you must hit before you go to the next step, I think you'll see more controlled growth. And I would say to anyone, I don't think you need to go raise capital.
Big statement. A lot of people think you got to fundraise.
Absolutely. And I've never raised for any business, and wouldn't do it. I obviously have the capital now to do it myself, but I think that's one thing that really, really led to our success.
Okay. Well, I, again, love these parting thoughts. I'm really appreciative of you sharing the journey with us. You've done so well for yourself, and proud to have this time with you today. And I know my listeners can find inspiration too on many of these moments. This is one of those episodes you got to listen to more than once. Maybe we'll circle back again, and I can't wait to share this with people. And anyways, congratulations.
Thanks, Jen. I appreciate
on your continued success, and I can't wait to see what you got up your sleeve.
Thank you.
If you like these episodes and my sales game techniques, you should snatch up our latest dealer education program I'm hosting. It's called Jen's Remote Classes, and it's a 1-hour, once-a-week class with me alongside other dealerships all pursuing the same end game to achieve top 10% status in your dealership. For more info, hit me up. All my contact info's in the show notes. I want to hear from you. And follow Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki right now to get notified when episodes like this one drop. This is Jen on the podcast Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki. See ya!